Last year, our very own Minister of Housing and Water, the Honorable Collin Croal, would have represented Guyana in the Bahamas. And because of his brilliant presentation, Guyana won the rights to host the 32nd Annual Caribbean Water and Wastewater Association. The event starts tomorrow. With me once again is Minister of Housing and Water, the Honorable Collin Croal. It's always a pleasure to have him on our feature. Minister, I know you're very busy, but as preparations, started and tomorrow is the day for the conference and expo, are you satisfied this far?
All right, good evening, and thank you for inviting me pre-opening. Let me start out by saying that, yes, we're hosting the 32nd annual conference. It's normally rotational, and so Guyana would have advocated to be given an opportunity to host the Caribbean Water and Wastewater Association Conference. Now, preparations are going well. Where we at now is actually for the areas for persons who are participating and showcasing, and so we have over 50 booths irrelevant to the sectors, and this is not necessarily local. There are a lot of international Caribbean companies that are participating. You realize this is across the Caribbean, so you have a high level of participation. You have ministers who will be here. We're talking about 300 plus delegates that are representing associations, representing various governments, the ministers themselves. And so there are various levels who will be here throughout the 5 days. Tomorrow is the opening for the conference, as you quite rightly said. Then on Tuesday we start the business series. But we'll start Tuesday morning with a 5-kilometer walk. It's part of the fundraiser. It's normally an activity, fundraising activity is always held as part of their hosting of the conference. Guyana, the president of the Caribbean Water and Wastewater Association, happens to also be a Guyanese, Major Marlon Daniels, who also works at GWI. And so we have a nice dual time in the sense of president of the CWWA, and then we're also hosting in Guyana, so that's good. And then on Tuesday we break out to the plenary session, and then I'll be leading the conference over the next 2 days in terms of the focus, and that is the first 2-day focus is in terms of water and wastewater, which falls under my remit. On Thursday and Friday, then they move into focus in dealing with solid waste. That solid waste in Guyana falls under the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development. So my colleague, Minister Anand Prasad, will be leading the sessions there in terms of the 2 days. But coming out of on Wednesday will be the Declaration Georgetown. When the last conference, as you quite rightly said, was held in Bahamas, we had a Declaration Bahamas, and which gives us the charge for the following year. Our work program, all of the governments represented signed on to this declaration, and we'll be doing similar here in terms of when we're completed by Wednesday. That's one aspect. Ongoing over 3 days are over 84 presentations of papers. These are from across the Caribbean, Guyana too. There are persons who are participating. They would have submitted their paper before, and the association, the committee would have approved these papers for presentation. So that's over 3 days, and that's that'll be simultaneous with the other high-level forum that is going to be taking place. And of course, you have here in terms of the exhibitors. On Thursday, we will open here to members of the public. Because of the nature of the activity, it's not other countries when they had hosted was kept to the delegates and the persons invited. But we're going to invite the members of the public on Thursday to be able to have.
That's free of cost?
Yes, to come in here, and that gives them an opportunity to engage. People who are probably in the sector who are not participating in the conference but want to meet service providers for the water sector, wastewater, as well as solid waste.
I want to come back to Tuesday, Minister, before you start a high-level conference. On Tuesday, you did mention the walk. For persons who are viewing and want to join the walk, what time does it start, and where do persons assemble?
It starts at 5:30 in the morning, and so we culminate with assembly point should be the Kingston Seawall, and then so 5 km is not much walking, right? And so we start off on Tuesday morning. I also want to mention on Tuesday evening, as part of the program, we have a cultural evening to be held at Guyana. And so they'll be given an opportunity to see Guyana's culture. And there are other things that normally participate. And so, for example, there's rum tasting and so forth, Guyana, rum tasting and competing in terms of Caribbean countries and what they have to offer. So they have their little activities that are planned as part of the culture show. But I also want to say for the delegates, they'll be visiting 3 locations too. For example, the landfill site that we have is Hags Bush, so that's where we treat solid waste. Then you have Banks DIA, it has a wastewater facility, and we are there, DDL, they'll be visiting DDL too. So you have there are a lot of activity plans for the delegates. Following the conference, if persons to stay on, we also have the Guyana Tourism Association on board, so persons who want to experience other parts of our country, other tour packages, other programs. We have linked the Guyana Tourism Authority with here, with the delegates, so to give them an opportunity to stay on and experience Guyana.
Minister, because of your brilliant presentation last year, well, the trip that you made in Bahamas, we were able to host this CWWA conference and expo in Guyana. Do you think we'll be able to win the rights again to host it next year?
I won't say that. It's because of Guyana's, and I did sought the permission of my boss, the president, for us to be able to Guyana to push the agenda to be able to give it an opportunity to host, and which quickly acceded to. And so I would say, with our advocacy as well as us being now chairing the chair, the president of the association, coming from Guyana, we were able to take it on from both sides, and so now we have that opportunity. Next year will be in another country. So it has to be rotation. It's a Caribbean Association conference, and it's annual, and so it has to go to another country next year.
And lastly, before we go, Minister, can you remind our viewers why this conference and exhibition is so important, not just for Guyana, but for the Caribbean?
This is water. When you talk about water, wastewater, solid waste, these are 3 big ticket items to discuss. But it allows us here for us to network, to see examples of what is happening in our fellow Caribbean countries, of the experiences that they have, what they've gone through, the transformation, etc. It allows us to network with persons within the sector. New technology, innovative technology gives you exposure. There are new metering meters that are coming on stream. There are new smart meters. Those sort of things. When you talk about non-revenue water, capturing non-revenue water, what are some of the things that you do to help the investment that made in that sector to deal with non-revenue water? And I'll give you 2 other examples. Right now, our biggest investment as a government for GWI is for investment in treatment plants, and that is to address the common complaint about the quality of the water that is coming to the household, that rusty look water, that brown looking water, that taste that you don't like. Well, taste is more chlorine to be treated, but then is to have the water be treated in entirety. We are investing billions of dollars to ensure that we are able to move our coverage that we have now. Right now it's about 55%. Only about 55% of persons who live on the coastline get treated water. That is not an acceptable level. So our government is investing. So we already have 7 treatment plants that work has started. And then there's another 5 to 6 that will come on stream in the new year, so that by 2025 on the entire coast, 90% of the population minimum will be having access to treated water. And that includes the new housing schemes that we are building through Ministry of Housing, whereby you have new areas that are coming on stream, so they are also being captured. That's one aspect of the investment that we want to showcase. What we are doing, the investments too, in terms of the sector for ensuring that water reaches the household, for first-time access, because as I said, you have new areas that are coming, so drilling of new wells are happening constantly. Expansion of the distribution network is happening. Georgetown here, we don't speak about this too often. There's also, only 1 week ago, I think you would be aware, there was a rupture right in front here by Pegasus. That is because the underground system, the pipe that we have there is century old. And so we have to change out all those pipes. We have started already. We have to change out those cast iron pipes, and we've started that work. We already changed from Shelter Belt to Light Street, but we have to change the whole of Main Street, including all here, along here. So we are committed. That's going into billions of dollars investment to ensure that this happens. we are committed to this. In order to increase the pressure in Georgetown so that persons can get water, the water level higher, we have at Shelter Belt, we have the pressure that we can increase, but we can't do that because those pipes will rupture. Only today I see by Parliament Square, we were fixing a leakage there somewhere by Parliament Square. So all of those pipes have to change out, and we have started work in that regard. You know, last year or earlier this year, you saw along Church Street, along the Merriman Mall, that area was dug up. That is to change the pipe system. So these are sort of things, investment we're making. We're drilling new wells. The hinterland is not being left behind because over 40 wells we're drilling this year. That's in 2023 program. And the hinterland regions along on the riverine communities to give first-time access to potable water. Many of them, they're custom pumping from the creeks or from the waterways, but then that's changing. That is even more, we're even confronted more because of climate change. So sometimes there are expenses we have to go into that you can see the commitment by our government, whereby, for example, we didn't have it planned as our work program this year, for Madia, but we had to respond. We actually placed that in the 2024 budget. We had to go back to be able to get permission to be able to fast track and bring forward to drill a new well there to help address the drying up of the water source of the Salbora, for example. And that is happening similarly in other parts of our country. So we are drilling new wells constantly. We have contractors more contractors now more than ever are involved with GWI. In-house, we have 4 rigs. We have 2 that they drills mainly on the coastline, and then we have 2 pathway rigs that we drill for the hinterland. Pomeroon for the very first time, and many of those communities have started now. We have started the intervention to give access for the first time for potable water. We have started at Wakapau, and we've gone, in fact, and this is part of the challenge. We've reached maybe about 300 feet, and we're not necessarily getting to the development that we're looking for, so we may have to drill on an alternative spot. So this is ongoing. For example, in the Maruka sub-region, we just drilled in an area called Walaba, but when we develop it, we're not getting the supply that we expect, and so we have to move on. Waramuri, we drilled a well in Waramuri. That's purely sand content, the soil type, but we have not been able to get the supply we're looking for, and so we have to do a deeper well, and we have to have a bigger rig. So these are the sort of things that happen that you don't plan for these expenses, but I don't think persons realize how much work we are putting in to fast track first-time access to potable water across this country. And as I said, that is compounded because we have to discuss, that is something we'll do here too at this conference, to speak about the effects from once you talk about climate change, the weather pattern, etc. That will obviously have to be discussed. And that is not only being confronted for Guyana. As I said, it's a Caribbean conference, so you have other Caribbean countries that experience their own challenges. You have, for example, well, for those who follow and travel will know, once so late in October, you don't normally look forward to hurricane happening at this point in time. Going into the cold weather to North America, but we have countries that are participating here that are affected from traveling, because they're expecting if the tropical storm to be developed, even get heavier, so it affects traveling. These are the sort of challenges that you have to deal with. So once you confront it, you're prone to that as a country, Caribbean country. What mechanism do you put in place to ensure that persons are able to get water, potable water, at all times, despite the weather challenge? And how do you respond? And so these are the sort of discussions that we have to continue to ensure that we have. We are doing, and I want to make another point for Guyana. I just spoke to you about the investments we are making in the country for different aspects. But guess what? The water tariff has not increased. In fact, when we got into office, we reduced the water tariff by 5%. We removed the VAT on water. For pensioners, we have subsidized water that is being provided. The first 10 cubic meters are provided free to pensioners. Yet we are making all of these investments. In the hinterland, water is free. Water is delivered free to households in the hinterland. So the charge, therefore, is for persons to please utilize water wisely. Please conserve, because while the theme that says water is life, save it, on the other hand, you'll hear Guyana is a land of many waters, but then you'll realize that water is a precious commodity. And, people talk about minerals, but the real preciousness in terms of for any country is to have water. And that is, if you don't have access to potable water, then you have challenge, real challenge. And so we are blessed in the sense of many regards, and certainly as a country and as a government, we are proud of what we're doing for this sector.
I guess persons don't really appreciate sometimes or understand the challenges that as minister, what happens with GWI. And of course, I'm sure as minister as well, you urge them to have some patience, right?
Right, well, let me use example, East Bank. Every day, my inbox, a phone call or WhatsApp, something comes through to speak about East Bank. But, like for example, I'm just using East Bank as a catchment so you get an idea what we're happening. We have a new well, a diamond, the well that was there, that collapsed. We're drilling a new well there. It's nearing completion we're currently developing. So they finished the actual drilling, but they're developing. So that is, diamond is down. You have at Covent Garden, we're putting another well is being drilled there, nearing completion. That is to address that part of East Bank. Come closer down here, Eccles. We're putting a new system in place at Eccles. We've increased the capacity. They're currently doing the connections, etc. That will see the output of the water, treated water, by the way, to triple. That will service Providence. People within Peters Hall, Providence, etc., they complain about the quality, the level of service that they get. So by the end of this year, East Bank, the level of service on East Bank will be at a level that we are satisfied. But right now, compounded with the dry weather and even I just use the 3 well sites that I'm talking about, where persons are getting low pressure, some in no water, and then some on a rotational basis getting water, all are affected. But we have interventions that are being made. These are simultaneous activities and drilling of wells that are happening to address the East Bank of the Demerara. And so the challenge sometimes to ask our population to be patient with us. We know, any one of us know that you get off from work and you're tired, and the last thing you want to be confronted with is to not have electricity and not have water. Any one of us. So we understand, when that happens, what our citizens go through.
Minister, thank you so much for having this chit-chat with us. And last call for persons to join the walk on Tuesday morning.
Yeah, so it's my last call to join the walk. Please, we have jerseys that are available. Get in contact with GWI Public Relations Department or the association here. Just pop in here tomorrow. For persons who want the form, or we can have it sent, just make contact with us, and we'd want persons to participate. It's for a worthy cause, and it's for a children's home, and so it's a fundraising venture too.
Thank you so much, Minister. Well, viewers, there you heard it from Minister of Housing and Water, the Honorable Collin Croal, giving you an update on the CWWA Conference and Expo, which starts tomorrow. Stay tuned as we bring to you more. Samantha saying goodbye and be safe now.